This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Rasha Abusita. I'm your host for today. I'm the Sustainability Program Coordinator at Ibc Guelph. I will be your host today. And I would like to begin with the Aboriginal land acknowledgement. I want to acknowledge as we gather here today, we are reminded that Guelph is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. As a community, we have a responsibility for the stewardship of the land on which we live and work, and a responsibility to foster reconciliation and respect for Indigenous people who have been stewards and caretakers for this land for generations. Today, we acknowledge the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation of the Anishinaabes people on whose traditional territory we are meeting today. And we acknowledge folks to continue educating themselves on all current issues facing First Nation communities and peoples across Ontario and Canada, and to learn how to take action to uplift and support Indigenous people from coast to coast to coast. So next, this is our agenda for tonight. I would like to hand the mic to Evan Ferrari, our Executive Director at Ibc Guelph, to give his quick intro about Emerge and climate change. Over to you, Evan. Thank you.
Thanks, Rasha. As many of you know, our mandate is to fight climate change, and we do it under the mantra of reaching 100% renewable energy in Guelph by the year 2050. Our flagship program is our home tune-up, where we can assist residents of Guelph, whether you're a homeowner or a renter, as long as you're paying for your utility bills at no charge. We can help you reduce your energy and your water consumption. And of course, water is the big thing that we're talking about today. But clearly, there are a lot of challenges to getting to 100% renewable energy. And yes, we're talking about water tonight, but I want to briefly talk about the energy component of it. And in order for us to get to a point where we're reaching 100% renewable energy, we realize that there are challenges with this. And the reason that there are challenges associated with it is because efficiency and conservation are two of the most important things that as society, we usually tend to forget. And so much so that we need to understand that in order to truly fight climate change, we need to be getting to a point where we're heating our homes with the equivalent of the energy that 3 televisions use, if you can imagine. So what does energy have to do with water here in Guelph? Let me leave you with a little picture of a very specific a very specific stat. 20% of the energy used by the corporation of the City of Guelph, this isn't community-wide, this is the City of Guelph that does all of our, that's responsible for all the services that they provide to us. And remember, they have about 2,000 employees. So all of the works and all of the things that everything that they do in the city, 20% of the energy bill that the city pays for all the work is, believe it or not, used for water. That might be a pretty astounding number, but think of it. We're using all that energy to pump water from our wells to the water filtration system, then to treating our water, then pumping the treated water so that all of us can consume it, then pumping the sewage from all of us to the sewage treatment facility, and eventually treating that sewage and pumping the treated water back into the Speed River. It's pretty phenomenal when you think about it. And I think it's difficult for a lot of us to sort of wrap our head around it because we just think we turn the tap on and here we go. So we want to share with you a couple of people that have done some remarkable things on the water side of things. Excuse me, the first are the Brandleys. And the Brandleys have a 100-year-old home that uses 60% less energy than the average new home. But not only are they really interested in doing the right thing from an energy perspective, now imagine that they've cut their water bill in half. The Brandleys use less than half the water of the typical Guelphite. So the average household in Guelph is somewhere around 164 litres per person per day. The city's target that we're helping to try to bring it down to is 150 litres per person per day. And the Brandleys, believe it or not, are down at 79 litres. Quite remarkable how successful they've been at reducing their water. How are they doing it? A lot of behavioral changes. They've also ensured that any of the appliances that they have in the home is are very water efficient. So the Brandleys did a lot of this based on the behavioral side of things, but then we've got the Colvin family. And the Colvin family, they doubled the size of their 1980s bungalow. So they went from about 1,100 square feet, more than doubled it, from 1,100 square feet to a 2,600 square feet. And even after they doubled the size of the home, they're still using only 40% of the energy that that original bungalow used. But they didn't stop there. They put in a solar photovoltaic system, solar hot water system. But here's the thing that we want you to pay attention with them tonight: a 9,100 liter rainwater harvesting system. And that 9,100 liter rainwater harvesting system is being used for all their toilet flushing and outdoor garden use as well. And their number with a growing family with 2 young boys is 113. May not be quite as low as the Brandleys, but it's a little more difficult on the behavioral side when you've got young kids, and probably a lot more laundry and a lot more baths than maybe a household would normally have. But they're at 32% less water than the typical home in Guelph. And how did they do it? Well, actually, they're one of the first homes in Guelph to be certified as a blue built home. And Jennifer is going to be speaking about them in a little, speaking about the blue built home program. And the Colvins, needless to say, their 9,100 liter rainwater harvesting system, not only on the toilets, I forgot to mention also the washing machine and the gardens, on the cold water side of the washing machine. And then, of course, they have a lot of, all of their appliances they've insured are water saving appliances as well. So you can sign up now. And as I said, Jennifer in a few minutes is gonna, so I'm sorry, I said Jennifer, I meant Stephanie, pardon me, is going to be talking about that in the next few minutes. But what I'd like to do is just give you an idea of a rainwater harvesting system and what they look like. Many of us think of it in terms of, many of us think of rainwater harvesting systems in terms of rain barrels. We're going to end off the evening on rain barrels. What we're going to start with are the most complex systems and slowly work to simpler and simpler systems until we get to the rain barrels. Here's a quick intro on a system that went in at the University of Guelph Arboretum Nature Center. I think some of you might recognize where this is. That gives you a brief idea of what a semi-powered system, or actually that's you'll be hearing more about that in a few minutes. But I want to take the opportunity to introduce Stephanie Scholdice and to apologize to her profusely because I mentioned Jennifer for some reason, and I have no idea why that happens. My apologies, Stephanie. But she's going to wow you with a remarkable program that the city has called the Blue Built Homes program. But also she's going to be talking about the rebates that are available for rainwater harvesting right up to $2,000 systems. Stephanie, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Evan. Let me just share my screen here. All right. Here we go. Wonderful. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I just want to say thank you to Evan and Rasha with Emerge for arranging today's virtual event. Again, I'm Stephanie, a water conservation program coordinator with the City of Guelph, and I'm really excited to share with you a brief background on the importance of water conservation for our community, followed by an overview of Bluebelt Home, a program that I'm the coordinator for, as well as, and this will include our rainwater harvesting rebate programs as well. So Guelph is one of Canada's largest groundwater-based communities. And groundwater is water from rain and snowmelt that seeps into the earth through open spaces and cracks in the soil and rock. And while groundwater can be found almost everywhere, it's not usually found in the quantities that are sufficient to meet a whole city's water demands. So Guelph is uniquely fortunate to be located on top of an extensive, naturally filtered and well-protected groundwater supply that can meet our current water needs. But because it takes a long time for water to actually filter through the ground, we can use it faster than it's replenished, making our water supply more vulnerable to overuse and drought compared to surface water supplies like lakes. Guelph is also one of the fastest growing cities in Canada. As a designated settlement area within Places to Grow, the province of Ontario's 30-year growth plan, our population is expected to increase from 135,000 to almost 170,000 people in the next 10 years. And with this growth comes increases in water demands. So our 2006 and then 2014 water supply master plans considered our options for meeting these increased water demands over the next 50 years. Water conservation continues to be recognized as the most readily available and cost-effective source of new water for our community. In response, 2009 and then subsequent award-winning 2016 water efficiency strategy were developed and implemented. So since 2006, the city's actually invested over $10 million in water conservation programs, funding our staffing and resources. And this investment has successfully delayed the need for us to expand our water infrastructure, like drilling new wells, by over $40 million, and is translated to annual savings of $534,000 per year in operational costs. The city's efficiency programs have generated savings of about $4.68 for every $1.31 of spending, which is amazing. And one of the programs that we've been growing since 2012 is Bluebelt Home. So Bluebelt Home is our whole home water certification and rebate program, and it's unique to Guelph. So by installing water-saving fixtures and appliances, you can have your home recognized and certified by the city as a home that values and protects our local groundwater by using less of it. By becoming Bluebelt Home certified, you can stand out with unique certification. In the building industry, there's lots of focus on energy efficiency, but not as much on water. And this distinctive certification will set you apart. It would make for a really cool selling feature if you're ever planning to move. You can save money, not only from the product rebates, but also from the long-term savings associated with reduced water use. And it's easy to participate. The program, I've designed it so that it's as flexible as possible. Any residential property in Guelph can participate, and you can participate in various ways depending on what works for your home and your personal preferences. And finally, you can feel good about owning a home that benefits your community by protecting our local water supply and reducing our environmental impact, which I'm going to expand on further in a later slide. Saving even a little water at home can make a big difference because collectively our homes are where the most water is used in our community. So every drop counts, and when renovating and building new homes, the choices we make have a big impact. The Bluebelt Home program was designed so that achieving Bluebelt Home certification would reduce a household's water use from 167 liters per person per day to our goal of 150 liters per person per day, which Evan mentioned is our target for 2038 for all households in Guelph. You can see that in 2020, we've actually had an increase in at-home water use. And, we believe this is, because of during COVID, more people are staying at home and working from home. And with this change, with more people working from home, it makes, saving water at home even more important because more of us are spending time in our homes. So who can participate? So again, as I mentioned, all types of residential properties can become Bluebelt Home certified, whether you're a new or existing a new home or an existing home, multi-residential, single residential, anyone can participate. Single family homes could receive a one-time rebate of up to $2,465, And there's rebates available of up to $415 for each unit in a multi-residential building, depending on the certification options you pursue. So there are 3 different ways to become Blue Belt Home Certified. And again, these requirements apply to any property type. So options A and B are to install a gray water or all-season rainwater harvesting system. So gray water is that water from your shower or bathtub that's collected, treated, and then reused for toilet flushing. So these systems would need to supply gray water or rainwater to all the toilets at a home in a minimum to qualify. And for the gray water reuse and rainwater harvesting systems, we provide rebates of $1,000 and $2,000 respectively. So the focus of today's webinar is on rainwater harvesting. So rainwater harvesting systems reduce community water demands by collecting and then using water that would have otherwise been wasted from being immediately directed into stormwater or wastewater systems. All-season rainwater harvesting involves collecting rainfall or snowmelt from a hard surface, typically your roof, filtering it and storing it for later use. In Canada, to prevent freezing in the winter, the holding tank may be located underground or indoors, maybe in a basement. And the rainwater is treated with ultraviolet light and can be used to flush toilets, wash laundry, and supply hose bibs for outdoor watering, but not drinking. All season indoor and outdoor systems require a building permit, and they must be designed to align with the Ontario Building Code. To qualify for the Blue Belt Home Certification, these systems require you to hire a rainwater harvesting contractor, engineer, or plumber to design and install the system. These systems can save a lot of water and have the potential to actually cut your water bill in half. And by using treated rainwater instead of drinking water to flush toilets, these systems can reduce household water use by 30 liters. So imagine 15 2-liter pop bottles for every single person in the home every single day, just by using the water to flush toilets, depending on the size of the toilets you have installed in your home. But we recognize that these systems can be expensive and challenging to install, which is why we offer a 3rd option for Blue Belt Home Certification. Option C requires that home or building owners install a minimum of 3 qualifying water saving options. 2 options must come from the primary category. As you will see, we've broken the qualifying water saving options into 2 categories, primary and secondary. The primary options are fixtures that tend to be more permanent, a little more expensive, and provide us with greater and concrete water savings associated with their installation. The secondary options don't necessarily save as much water, are more easily removed, and may depend on behavior change by the homeowner. So that's why we require 2 primary options at least, and your 3rd option for your water savings could be a secondary option. So our primary options include installing, water-saving appliances like your washing machine, 4-liter toilets, dishwashers, low-flow shower heads. The efficient hot water distribution system is meant to reduce the amount of water sitting in the pipes between your hot water heater and your furthest fixture. So your ensuite, maybe shower head and faucet. Because what happens is as you're running your shower, say, to heat up the water, the further the distance between your hot water heater and your shower, the longer you have to run the tap before you get that hot water. So that's what a efficient hot water distribution system is meant to manage, to reduce the amount of water you have to run before you get hot water out of your fixture. Secondary options include, low flow faucets. Water submeters are meters that you can install either permanently in your water line or temporary by wrapping it onto your existing water meter. And they usually have an app associated with them. And what it does, it allows you to more directly monitor your water use through your home, check for leaks. But it usually requires actions on the resident to actually change your water using behavior. It just provides you with information about your water use, which is awesome. Waterless floor drain trap primers. You'll notice in your basement, maybe around your water softener, or in your laundry room, there's a drain on the floor, and usually they have water in them to prevent sewer gases from coming back into your home. But you can actually have traps installed that let the water drain through, but have a rubber kind of bill that roll up to seal it, but they don't require water. Healthy Landscapes is a City of Guelph program as well. We have staff that come out for a free 1-hour visit, and they'll, talk to you about how to create a beautiful landscape, but one that also saves water. And then we also have the option of other water saving product or technologies approved by the City of Guelph. And this is because this program is meant to encourage, further the water industry and encourage people to try different ways to save water. So if there's something that you want to try that saves water, we're open to having that count towards your Blue Belt Home certification as well. So while not officially integrated into the Blue Belt Home program, a seasonal rainwater harvesting system could also count towards your Blue Belt Home certification as an other water saving product or technology. And I'm working this year to actually officially integrate it into our Blue Belt Home program. So seasonal systems are located outdoors and capture rainwater from your downspout. They're for outdoor water uses like watering your lawn and garden. They're typically larger than a rain barrel and include a leaf screen, storage tank, hose, and small pump to help with water pressure and flow. And we have a rebate for these seasonal systems of 50 cents per liter of tank storage up to a maximum of $2,000. To qualify, the tank must hold at least 500 liters of water and include a secure child-proof lid, a leaf screen, and for above ground installation, they must be algae and ultraviolet light resistant. If you want to connect it to your home's plumbing, say to your outdoor hose bib or tap, you can, but you need a building permit for that. And you can either purchase these systems through a package or ask an engineer to help design the system for you. And some systems might require assistance from a contractor, plumber, or engineer to have it installed properly. Now, rain barrels or repurposed or homemade tanks do not qualify for this specific rebate. So these are your options for, becoming Blue Belt Home certified or meeting the qualifications to become Blue Belt Home certified. So how do you participate? So first, there's short application forms online. Then you build or renovate your home in order to meet the Blue Belt Home requirements. Then every home would have to have some kind of inspection done. If it's a major renovation or a new build, our plumbing inspectors would conduct that as part of the building permitting process. Or Evan or Rasha would come out to do the Emerge Home tune-up visit, and they would be able to check for your Blue Belt Home qualifications during that. And yeah, Evan spoke to the Emerge Home tune-up program at the beginning of this presentation. Then you submit your certification and rebate claim form, and then I'll receive those via email. And I'll then give you your rebates either directly to your water account, or I'll send you a check in the mail, as well as a appreciation package, as well as an official certification to mark your home as being part of our Blue Belt Home community. In this year, I'm also planning on developing an online Hall of Fame for members of our Blue Belt Home community. So this would be something that you might be able to be featured on as well. So finally, while rain barrels do not currently count towards a Blue Belt Home certification, they're still an excellent way to capture rainwater for use in the garden. And every year we have an annual rain barrel sale, and 2022 is no exception. So our 2022 rain barrel sale has actually opened on March 22nd. There's one discounted rain barrel can be purchased per household at $45, and additional rain barrels will cost $75. The sale is only open to Guelph residents, and you need to order the rain barrels online, and they will be delivered directly to the provided address. So becoming Blue Belt Home certified and using rainwater instead of treated drinking water to flush toilets, water our lawns and gardens, and even wash our laundry has many benefits. It protects our limited groundwater supply, but also saves you money, not only through rebates, but by using rainwater all year round. As I mentioned, you can cut your water bill in half. Blue Belt Homes and rainwater harvesting efforts also indirectly contribute to addressing climate change and pollution. By reducing daily water demand, these systems delay our need to build environmentally impactful water supply and treatment infrastructure. Reducing water use also reduces the energy and chemical needs required to provide water to the community and collect and treat the associated wastewater. Rainwater harvesting systems can also address pollution concerns by reducing urban water runoff and non-source pollutants. Instead of pollution and debris that's on the surface of our roads and sidewalks being washed into our storm drains and into our lakes and rivers after it rains, it's actually collected, filtered, and then treated before being used. So Blue Belt Home and rainwater harvesting technologies reduce our environmental impacts while keeping our water and wastewater rates low for our community. protecting our local water supply so we can continue to rely on our high quality groundwater. You can find more information about Bluebell Home, our rainwater harvesting rebates, and many of our other programs that help make it easy to reduce household water use at guelph.ca/rebates. Thank you very much, and I'll be available at the end of the session today to answer any questions. Thank you. And I'll pass it back to Evan.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. That was really insightful. I would like to mention, I see that there's already some questions in the chat specifically about the rain barrels, but we're going to be sharing the link to the city site. I'll also mention that Stephanie mentioned the price of $45. That's a reduced price. They're generally $90. So when you go on that site, I know that Larry will be speaking about this at the final presentation this evening. You'll see that there's the $45 one there, and you'll see exactly the same one next to it that's at $90. So the city is already subsidizing those rain barrels. So we will include the link to the city site. Rasha, I'm wondering if you get a chance, if you could put it in the chat, that way people could, and if we do put a link in the chat, just as a housekeeping issue, you can't copy it, but all you do is you just click on it and it will take you to that site. So on that note, we're now going to get into our supplier presentations. We're going to start off with Ben Morrison from CleanFlow. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to start with the very large and complex systems, and we're slowly going to work our way until we get to the point where we're dealing with the rain barrels. But at this point, I want to hand this over to Ben from CleanFlow. Ben, take it away.
Thank you, Evan. Appreciate being invited here today, and thanks for joining us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about rainwater harvesting. CleanFlow tends to do larger style systems, so a lot of stuff for new homes or existing homes, but larger scale retrofits. And then we also do larger commercial or multifamily systems. Yeah, next slide. So yeah, we got a little video here to watch.
CleanFlow was contacted by Nora Designs, a design-build architectural firm, and Elman Designs, an engineering firm, to design and install a rain harvesting system on a residential property in the Richmond Hills area. Nora Designs and Elman Designs, along with CleanFlow Water Technologies, are the leaders and innovators for state-of-the-art water conservation solutions in the GTA area. The owners wanted to collect rainwater to practice water conservation technology in their home, and also to meet the city requirements for on-site stormwater management. The first step to a great system is an adequate design. Therefore, CleanFlow Water Technologies starts by conducting a detailed site analysis. A primary component of our system design is using software to simulate rainfall events and generate a hydrologic model of your property to determine how your system will perform. This system works by directing water from the rooftop down two interior drain pipes shown in green. Then the rainwater is directed towards the front of the house and out the foundation wall below ground. The rainwater is all directed to a central point where it feeds into a centralized pre-filter. The pre-filter will filter out particles that both carry the bacteria and the nutrients that feed the bacteria. From the pre-filter, clean water is directed to the rainwater tank via the green pipe, and the dirty water is directed to the storm sewer via the red pipes. The rainwater enters the tank through a calming inlet device which prevents the agitation of sediment. The floating up tank allows the pump to draw in the cleanest rainwater via the blue pipes, and the skimming overflow removes floating particles, prevents backups, and directs overflowed water to the storm sewer via the red pipes. The installation took place in September 2017 over the course of 2 days, starting with the excavation. First, the rainwater tank pit was dug to a depth of 8 feet, providing 4 feet of ground cover over the tank to prevent freezing. Next, the rainwater tank was prepped. Once the rainwater tank was completely prepped, it was safely lifted into the pit. Finally, the tank was bedded with high-performance bedding material to ensure that it does not move or shift after installation. Next, the pre-filter device was installed and the excavation towards the house was started. After the tank is properly installed and the pre-filter device has been positioned, the plumbing is underway. All the pipes are interconnected from the house to the pre-filter to the tank and then out towards the storm system. All pipes are bedded with a high-performance bedding and then backfilled with native material. To conclude, residential homeowners will more commonly face the issue of stormwater retention systems as they continue to build homes with impermeable surfaces, and cities continue to pass bylaws regarding maximum stormwater runoff, and as water rates continue to rise. As this problem grows in scope, clean flow water technologies will deliver systems and designs that address this problem as a first-class concern, because more often than not, this issue is regarded as an afterthought.
So in the video we saw quite a large residential property. Our systems can be installed on tiny homes, large homes, multifamily dwellings. Our big approach is offering a turnkey solution. So we work with we provide designs, we can provide installation services, and supply a system. So the other components that may come up with permitting and engineering, we can help with those as well and provide this full turnkey solution. And we are active across Canada. So we have many kind of systems and kind of experienced weather in multiple regions. Next slide. So, we've kind of gone over this: rainwaters from the sky and gray waters once used rewater. So we can kind of skip past this. Next slide. So rainwater harvesting is essentially when we provide two separate technologies to achieve the goal. First technology is a collection system that's going to pre-filter and store your water so you can use it. And the second technology is going to pump and treat the water so it can be reused in the home for stuff like toilets and laundry. There's two main types of systems: below ground or above ground systems. Yeah, next slide. This would be the idea of the system you saw installed in the video. As you can see, it's connected to a roof with one or more downpipes and then to an underground tank. And then we're feeding that back into the house so the water can be reused safely. Our systems, they do include free designs. So when someone does purchase a clean flow system, we provide pre-designs. So your builder, your plumber, your construction team can actually install our system with our support, saving some cost on the installation side. Next slide. This would be the same type of system, but just showing the above ground arrangement. It is just a really big rain barrel with some more sophisticated treatment components. But it is a Great option, especially if you can keep the tank heated. You can use this option all year. Next slide. When you get into treatment, I know in Guelph, potable water is not used for this. In other regions in Canada, we use rainwater for potable. It's actually allowed and encouraged, and mostly on the coasts, so on the eastern coast and the western coast. But even with rainwater used in the home, you still need some sort of filtration. So instead of having a filtration system that you see on the left, which is nice and everything, the filtration system you see on the right is what we call an appliance. So it's taking your pump, your filters, anything else that's required, your control system, all integrated into something that resembles like a fridge or a dishwasher. And this would be your rainwater harvesting appliance to treat rainwater in the home. Next slide. And I think that was it. Thanks, guys, for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be available at the end of this presentation.
Well, that was great, Ben. That gives us a really good sense of, as what I'm seeing is that the two types of systems that are out there. One is essentially a seasonal system that is above ground, that I'm assuming would have to be drained every year, and the second system is one that we actually plumb into our homes, and that's the one that Ben was spending most of his time on. And our next speaker is Evan Bell, another Evan. I don't come across many Evans, and it's great to have another Evan on tonight. And Evan, really appreciate your joining us tonight. And I'll hand the screen over to you.
Right on, thanks. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
Sounds okay. All right, so and you can see the screen there.
If you want to take I can stop screen share and you can take it over there, okay?
Yeah. How's that? Looks okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone. Thanks for hosting us. Just check my time here, okay? So my name's Evan. I'm the GM of Water Farmers Urban Agriculture, based out of Guelph. We're a design build firm and we're specialized in ecological landscapes, urban agriculture, and recently we've been getting into some rainwater harvesting work. And essentially we build better places to grow. So sort of in a nutshell, I mean, this is a quick presentation here and Ben covered a lot, but in terms of how to harvest rainwater and then thinking about it from a theoretical perspective, we took this from the City of Guelph. They have a harvesting design and installation manual that kind of gives you the primer on all the components of how these systems work together. So starting from the top and going clockwise, we have our collection and conveyance. So where we're storing the water, where we're going to move it. We have our storage, treatment, our distribution. So how are we going to get it to the places that we want to use it? And then in more sophisticated systems, we have backflow prevention, insufficient rainwater. So if we run out of water, it's a drought, what do we do? And then excessive rainwater provisions. So part of, I think, the context for why these workshops are important is to think about the spectrum of how modern rainwater harvesting works. So, you know, they can vary in scale from, you know, a small rain barrel that's, you know, 200 liters, and you can use it for watering a garden and filling a watering can, up to large scale systems in a commercial or industrial building. So really, it's quite a big spectrum in terms of how things work. So looking at tanks and sort of we're getting a bit more complicated and a bit more substantial as we move along. So on the left here is an example of a rain barrel. You might have it off of a garage or, you know, 300 to 400 square feet, something like that. In the middle here, you have one of the Rainwater 1 units that we offer. And this is the one that's at the Guelph Arboretum that you can check out at the university. And on the right here is actually a system that we installed with Clean Flow. So it's a slightly larger system. I think it's 1,500 liters, something like that. And getting quite more substantial than a rain barrel. And then we go into even more sophisticated systems. So you can see here on the top left, this is a day tank, what it's called, for an irrigation for a farm, and we use rainwater off of some drive sheds to fill this up as well as a well, and then just use it, for 3 seasons. And then on the right, this is another example of a day tank system that's used seasonally for 3 seasons off of the structure. And then on the bottom left here is another, is a 4-season system. So we're going below frost depth, and it's much more substantial. Looking at pre-filters, just an example here. So these are things that are going to prevent detritus and waste from getting into the tanks in the first place. So on the left, this is one of the simple leaf screens that are available. And then as we move up in the middle here, this is what's called a Vortex Filter. So this does quite a good job of cleaning that rainwater before it goes into your tank. Excuse me. And then here's an example of an installation of one of these on the right. So just talking about some of the products that we offer. So for our company, we try to exist kind of in that middle range between, the 4-season, very substantial building permit sort of systems, and then, a rain barrel that is quite accessible and is sort of the lowest hanging fruit. So in terms of what's permitted by the City of Guelph, we offer a Rainwater 1 package. So this is a 1,000-liter system with a base model at $1,500, up to $3,500 depending on cladding, and just some details there on some of the rebates that this is available for within the seasonal tank program. If you're looking for something bigger than just a rain barrel, we can get bulk water totes. So these are new Ibc Totes that are food safe, delivered in Guelph with fittings for a hose connection. So you can just connect it to your downspout and then immediately connect to your hose for the garden. However, because it's not a product, it's not engineered to have all the features. It's not certified for the rebate, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind with the rain barrels. We have a pre-filter product that we're working on as well, that's going to be announced in April. And we also provide tanks and cisterns, UV treatment systems, pump stations, and irrigation. And we're also offering in May, just because of the complexity of trying to understand the scale of these products, we're offering an upcoming course on practical rainwater harvesting for homeowners. So yeah, just to sort of continue on here, because I know there's some other presenters. There's our contact info there, and yeah, happy to always chat about rainwater stuff and trying to figure out the right products for people. I do have an appendix here that we can refer to if there's questions later on, just with some of the water costs in Ontario, against some of the sewer fees, because if people are doing some of the return on investment calculations, you need this information, and it's good to see across the province like where people are working on different things. The annual precipitation, which is really important. So if you have a rain barrel, I'm sure people have experienced this. You connect it to 300 or 400 square feet, and in a 5-minute rain event, that's going to be overflowing, right? So we do need to do some thinking and some understanding of how much water there's actually going to be, so we can do our capacity sizing. Yeah, so that's basically it for me, and I will stop my screen share now. Thanks. So back to the other Evan, I guess. Can't hear anything. So I think Larry from rainbarrel.ca is gonna.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. My mic was off. My apologies. I was talking to myself here. This is the other Evan. Thank you, Evan. Evan, I just wanted to mention that I didn't meet another Evan until I was 26 years old. But I met many since then, and that's quite a few years since then. But I really appreciate what the context that you're helping to bring to all that, to all of what we're talking about tonight. And on that note, I want to pass the table over to or the microphone over to Larry Pomerantz from rainbarrel.ca. And Larry, I'm going to ask you to unmute and to start your video at the same time. And I'm going to mute myself. So I'm going to hand it over to you. And then after that, we'll go into a roundtable Q&A with all of our presenters this evening. Larry, over to you.
Very good, thank you. I'd like to just express my appreciation to the organizers of the event and to all the participants. I'm here to talk to you about rain barrels, but before I do that, I want to continue on the existing theme of the larger rainwater collection systems. I'm on a rural property here. We don't have city water and we don't have city sewers. But I actually have two cisterns, two concrete containers in the ground. One is 3,200 gallon and the second one is 2,500 gallon. We have water trucked to us to fill the 3,200 gallon. That usually lasts us about 2 months. And that's for drinking water and showers and cooking water. And I have all the downspouts running into the 2,500 gallon cistern. And that water is used for flushing toilets and for outdoor use. And I've been here now 2 years and I haven't once had to pump any additional water into that rainwater system. So I'll just see if we can see this here. This is actually the plumbing system for that system. And I have the clean drinking water entering the bottom of that system. And as we go up, you'll see further up, I have actually the rainwater system coming in up in this area here. So rainwater comes into the system at the top. The drinking water comes into the bottom. Here's the, let me see if I get this right. So this right here is the division between our drinking water and the rainwater. So if I ever run out of rainwater, I can open a valve and start using the drinking water to flush toilets and use outdoor water. All right, so I'm going to take you outside now. We're going to go outside and have a look at some rain barrels and some downspouts. We must have did this a little bit later in the year last year because I remember it being much brighter outside. But see if we can have a look here, but we have a downspout here. I don't know if that can be seen very well. And we actually have a downspout diverter. We have the
Larry, I just want to let you know that it looks like your web
being
connection
distributed by the
Larry, it looks like your web connection is a little
City of Guelph. That in putting together the large system, I found out I was dealing with all the same issues that I had to deal with when putting a rain barrel together. You still have to figure out how are you going to connect this, downspout to whatever you're collecting the water in. You still have to figure out how are you going to filter it, and perhaps the least thought of, and maybe the most important, is what are you going to do with the excess water when your rain harvesting system, whether it's a rain barrel or a cistern or an above ground tank, what are you going to do with the excess water once that's full? And so we went through all of that with the big cistern, and I found the filtering of that was the most challenging. I had to MacGyver my own filter, but more recently I've seen some really nice systems that separate all the impurities from the actual water, and this is some great solutions, and Evan showed us some of those today. When it comes to a rain barrel, there's typically a filter screen for leaves and mosquitoes on the top. There's an overflow outlet so that once that barrel fills up, excess water can depart from that barrel. And then there will be a tap at the bottom for connecting a garden hose to it so that you can distribute that water once the barrel's full or whenever you need to. The one thing that I wanted to say though is a downspout diverter is probably an essential piece of the puzzle. It's the thing that's going to resolve the overflow issue. if you think about the size of a downspout and you compare that to the size of an overflow hose on a rain barrel, the overflow hose is much smaller than the downspout. So during a heavy rainfall, you're going to get a lot of water coming into that barrel. That barrel can fill up in as little as 15 minutes. And after that, it just keeps coming and coming and coming. And the overflow outlet and the overflow hose on a rain barrel can't really keep up. So a downspout diverter resolves that issue. It regulates how much water is going into a rain barrel, and it never sends more water to a barrel than the overflow hose can draw away from that barrel. The other thing that it does is it can be installed in such a way that instead of filling the barrel from the top, it fills the barrel from the side. And when the barrel is full, the water levels out and no more water can go into the barrel. And instead what it does is it rises inside of the downspout diverter and spills over and into the lower downspout to wherever you happen to have your downspouts going. So if you're connecting a rain barrel to a shed or to a garage where there's no foundation, you don't really need a downspout diverter. But if you're going to connect the rain barrel to a downspout that's beside your house where you actually have a foundation and perhaps a basement, if you cut your downspout and allow all that water just to go directly in the rain barrel and then it overflows and runs down the side of the rain barrel, you could potentially be in a situation where you have a leaky basement. So for the price of a downspout diverter, it resolves all the overflow issues, and it regulates how much water is going to go to the barrel, and it's probably the best investment you can make when installing rain barrels. The other thing I wanted to say is that rain barrels, you can connect an endless number of them together. So there's a lot of capacity there, and it's low cost capacity. I just wanted to show you one thing here. This is actually our new diverter. I had this one made transparent just so that people could see the way that the water flows. But through the top here, your downspout goes into this little square opening. There is a top that slides over this, and there's a little water slide inside this thing here that forces the water to go over into this well. So it comes down that slide into this well, and from this well, it then has the opportunity to go to exit through these various openings. There's one right there. All right, and that's all really a good downspout diverter does. This is our latest model. It's coming out later this year. And what I tried to do, I set out to design the best downspout diverter. This actually allows you to hook up 8 different hoses to it, so it can keep up to the heaviest rainfall. Not a single drop of water will pass through this if you had 8 hoses hooked up to this. Now, not everybody's going to do that, but you can easily hook, for example, a rain barrel up to this one, and once the rain barrel's full, the rest of the water could come out of the second one and fill perhaps a swimming pool. You can run it right into the filter of the swimming pool, or ponds, hot tubs, wherever you need water. So this may be the only diverter that has the ability to connect to a downspout and deal with 100% of the water, starting from the very first drop to the fastest flow possible. And that's really my presentation for tonight. And again, thank everybody for being here tonight, and happy to answer some questions.
That was great, Larry. Really appreciate it. I'm going to ask all of our speakers just to start your video again and to unmute. And once we've got everyone up and operational there, just give us a second. We just go into a series of questions, and we have everyone there. We do have everyone there. That's great. Thank you. And I'd like to start with actually a question that I have, and it relates to Larry. I'm really glad that you focused on the diverter, and the reason I say that is that Rasha and I are frequently in homes where there is severe basement trouble from rain barrels and being improperly installed. And I'd really appreciate all of your opinions on that. Larry, we've heard, your approach to it with this diverter, but would really appreciate to hear from Ben and Evan and Larry and Stephanie, and then Larry again on that one. How frequently do you see systems that are installed poorly that you've got to fix, or how do you engineer your way out of them? Let's put it that way. Evan, do you want to start that?
Oh,
Or
that's
Ben?
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest consideration is that the rain barrels are the lowest hanging fruit, and then if people aren't thinking about the actual capacities of the roof area, they can really oversize how much flow is actually going to go through, and with climate change, there's more variance in terms of the rain events. So what that's created is a situation where I don't have the number in front of me, but it's like a 200 square foot roof, one downspout that's doing 200 square feet will be overflowing a rain barrel that's 200 liters in like 7 minutes, something like that, if it's a hard rain, right? So with the rain barrels, people want to put them in and attach it to a downspout, and then don't really look at the massive roof area that it's collecting from, right? So yeah, I don't do any work where I see that as damage to people's houses, but I could imagine that it's something that happens. And maybe Larry, you have some input there. I don't know.
So I also haven't seen any damage, but I have been called by homeowners in the past where they have had their basement flooded because they had downspout issues, or downspouts going right into the ground, and everything's clogged with 30, 40, 50 years of leaves, and then they're looking for a solution to try to stop their basements from flooding. I always tell people that a rain barrel on its own is not a solution to stop flooding. It'll stop the first 55 gallons, but after that, it's still going to keep coming, and it's going to keep flooding. So they actually have to think of a more holistic approach, and they need to get that water away from their house. You're welcome to collect and save 55 gallons. That's never going to hurt anybody, but you're going to have to get that water away from your house, and that's what a downspout diverter can do.
Ben, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. I think both Evan and Larry hit it well. Like, a lot of rain barrels are going to have a small overflow hose typically, and you're putting in a large downpipe. So they just don't equal. So from an engineering standpoint, your inlet, your overflow pipe, so your outlet pipe, always has to be equal or greater than the diameter of all your inlet pipes. So it's just basic. You got to match that. And if you don't, you're going to have an overflow issue. So there's 4 main places to overflow. Your first one is grade, so on top of the soil if it's allowed, away from the foundation. The second one would be into a storm sewer. The third way would be into a underground, into a weeping tile. And then the final way would be with a lift station. So putting it somewhere like in a sump pit and pumping it somewhere else. So you have to do something.
Stephanie, do you want to wade into this one as well, or is this outside of your focus primarily?
Yeah, no, I'll leave this to the system experts. This is my expertise, so they're able to speak to it better than myself. Gotcha.
As I said, we see problems in basements all the time related to water, and it's an interesting one, because when we're in a basement, inevitably people think that there's something on the other side of the wall somehow underground. But our first line of approach is when there's a water problem in the basement, we look up and we look at the eaves troughs for starters, because frequently the eaves troughs at the tops of homes are problematic even before it gets to the downspouts, and frequently it's not even rain barrels. Got a question here specifically to Evan, but I assume that Ben, you can answer this, and Stephanie as well. But can you discuss the narrow water container from your slide? And I think, Ben, you had one type of a version, and Stephanie in your slides as well. Most of us are familiar with the 1,000 liter or the 1 cubic meter, and then there's these narrower ones that have a bit more cosmetic, a little more cosmetically pleasing, I guess. Who wants to start with that one?
I mean, the one that Barbara, I think you're referencing that we had, that's actually a clean flow system that we installed for them. So, I mean, Ben knows specifically about how that looks. So I'll leave that to Ben, I think.
Yeah, the little narrow rain barrel, it's a, you know, it's a brand new barrel. It's not reused. And it's, you know, we've integrated a pre-filter into it. Yeah, just, it's kind of everything kind of just built into one, and it's got that, there's kind of a cedar wrap on it. So an actual real cedar wrapped around half of it to give it that, you know, blendability into, you know, an urban landscape. So, the picture that you saw is actually an installation Evan did, and they did such a good job with it, with the gray stone. It's a very attractive picture.
That's great. Stephanie, I think you had a photograph, or you had an image of one that had a series of holes in it as well. Was that one of the ones? I thought that there's a very narrow one that has a series of what appear to be holes. Does that make any sense to any of you? If it doesn't, that's fine.
Yeah, I had a diagram that I think had like holes in the side of it, but I don't think it's like it's not meant to be outlets for the water. I think it's just you know, visibility into the system itself, so you can see the water levels or something like that. But it's just the diagram that's.
Gotcha. Great, thanks for putting that up there, Evan. That's great. So why don't you talk about what we're seeing there again? Go ahead, Evan.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one on the right is the clean flow tank that we installed, the one that Ben was talking about there. So it has an integrated pre-filter, that yellow piece, and then on the right, that downspout is connecting a bunch of liters from around the house to make sure that we're collecting enough surface area. And then that goes out into like a tile drain on the left, like a French drain. So we're not worried about the overflow event, and that pipe is sized bigger, so our outflows are always sized up once in terms of the overflow. Yeah, and then in the middle here is the system that's at the Arboretum, so you can go check that out. It's on the trails there if you want to look at it. And this was built sort of to fit architecturally into the space. So just to demonstrate that there are options for doing, you know, medium scale rainwater harvesting that, you know, fits architecturally with the space. And we actually on this one put a clear pipe vertically, so you can see the water level in the tank quite easily. So
that's great. And that one, yes, I see the wire there. So that's a pump system as well.
Yeah, it has a small duty pump here to run just like one garden hose, basically.
Understood. And they don't have toilets in there for flushing anyway, so they're just using it for garden purposes, I'm assuming.
Nope. I mean, sort of from Stephanie's point, whenever you tie into like utilities, you need a permit, right? So
got it. Yeah. So
this approach allows you to still have, you know, powered pumps, so you're not using gravity, but you don't need a permit to get it. So it's a little bit more accessible just in terms of workflow and all that. So
gotcha. Great. Stephanie, I've got a question for you about the Blue Belt Home Program. What are the biggest questions that people come to you with when they're thinking of looking at going to major rainwater harvesting systems or becoming Blue Belt certified in the first place?
I think one of the major questions that we get is people are interested in rainwater harvesting and they just don't really know their starting point. So it's been great to have some of the, you know, providers of different rainwater harvesting systems, you know, with us today. So thank you everyone for those presentations, because that's really useful information. And I will just point out that on our website, we do have a list of different providers that we are aware of that provide, you know, gray water reuse systems, all season and seasonal rainwater harvesting systems as well. So if you're interested in, you know, investigating these systems a little more, I encourage you to check out those lists and find some quotes and make sure you ask lots of questions about them. So that's probably the most common question I get about the rainwater harvesting system specifically. around Blue Belt Home, some of the most common questions I get are just about how to participate. So I'll just reiterate again that we have, I encourage you to have a look at our Blue Belt Home website. It includes all the information that I've presented today. And it's as easy as just signing up for a quick sign up, as well as, completing your Blue Belt Home requirements, and also then submitting your certification rebate claim form. And then I'll send everything to you. Benjamin, I just saw your question about finding info on multifamily rebates. I would also encourage you to check guelph.ca/rebates. For Blue Belt Home specifically, you can check out bluebelthome.ca. All the information is on that same website as well. And and I'm also available to help. So again, I'm the program coordinator for Blue Belt Home. So if you have questions, reach out to, again, Blue Belt Home at guelph.ca, and those emails come directly to me, and I'm happy to help in any way I can to help get you Blue Belt Home certified. And the program's really flexible, so I'm happy to work with you to find something that works. So yeah,
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks.
That was great. I'm curious from a last words perspective, if we just go around with all of you to appreciate some of the last few words that you might have. Larry, we left you to last, so we're going to go first with you. How about that? And you know what, you were absolutely right that it was almost a month to the day later last year, and that's why when you were outside last year and we were doing a similar program to this, it was a lot brighter. But yeah, we'd appreciate your final words of wisdom there.
Sure. So again, regardless of what type of system, whether it's a single rain barrel or a major in-ground system, the issues are always how are you going to get water in, how are you going to filter the water, and how are you going to handle the excess water? Even my in-ground system, it fills right to capacity, and then I have a pipe that takes it out into a low-level area in the yard. I saw a question there about rain barrels in the winter. You have to disconnect your the rain barrel in the winter. You got to put it away. It can go in a garage or under a deck. It can stay outside as long as it doesn't have any water in it. It's my understanding that water expands 9% when it freezes. It expands, and that will burst pretty much any barrel left outside. So you'll often see people cut the downspout, and they'll take it off. They'll put their barrel there, and then in the fall they have to put that cut downspout back on. So every spring it comes off, every fall it goes back on. And again, the downspout diverter resolves that. You install a downspout diverter, it stays installed all year long. You don't have to worry about it freezing. There's a channel that lets water go straight through. And in our older design, the diverter would freeze solid, but was designed just like an ice cube tray. So as it froze, it would just push the ice up into the void up above. It's pretty much a summary of what I think people need to know about harvesting rainwater in any amounts.
Great, thank you. Evan, how about you, some last words?
Sure. So thanks everyone for coming to the workshop tonight. I think for people who want to try to improve their properties and adapt to climate change, I think it's important to, do some more technical thinking about it, right? And so like Evan said, he said, look up, so, if you see a downspout, you want to connect something to it because you want to save rainwater, think about it a little bit and actually, do some measurements and understand, how much rain you might get, how big that roof area is, and what's actually going to happen to your property then, right? And with climate change, there's more frequent rains that have higher and lower variances, right? So it's important to think about that when we're trying to save water. Somebody else earlier had a question about permeable pavers, and I actually have a sample of one of the permeable paver products that we install. So essentially, it's gravel that's glued together. Like that's the secret, right? So you put it on top of a porous surface, and it's a replacement for asphalt or concrete. That's a low impact development strategy. So thanks everyone. Hope to talk more about rainwater stuff in the future. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And Ben, how about you?
Final
words.
Thanks, Evan. Yeah, I think Larry and Evan kind of handled their got them all for sure. You know, you want to stress the overflow concern for sure, because that becomes a problem, and it's not really thought of all the time. And then I guess just realizing that, you know, there are places in Canada where people drink rainwater off the roof. So it's very suitable for non-pothole applications. There's a lot of potential there. And when you do a large system, it can be expensive to install, just that much work. So if you are planning a renovation or building a new home, it's a great time to consider putting in a large rain system, because you can integrate that system with your house build or your major renovation. But yeah, that would be all.
Great. And Stephanie, some last words from you.
Sure. Well, I guess I just really want to say thank you, everyone, for coming out. You know, one of the things that I love about my job is that I get to work with our amazing community who, you know, it really has an interest, you know, in new water efficient technologies. And, you know, we work with a community that really cares about the water supply. So thank you very much for coming out today and for your interest in reducing household water use. You know, I work with a really passionate team that really cares. And, you know, we're here and happy to help you with any questions you might have about any of our rebate programs or ways you can reduce water use in the city. So please feel welcome to reach out at any time. And we're happy to answer any questions or help in any way.
Great. And if there are final words, I'm going to hand the microphone over to my colleague, Rasha. Rasha, over to you.
Thanks, Evan. What a nice presentations, guys. Thank you very much. With this, we reached to the end of our rainwater harvesting event. Big thanks to all of our attendees for their engagement and interaction with our panelists. Thanks to the City of Guelph for sponsoring this event tonight. And we encourage each of you to take advantage of the available rebates to save water money and reduce their negative impacts on the environment. And finally, great thanks to our panelists for their valuable contribution. Stephanie Shodes from the City of Guelph, Ben Morrison from Clean Flow, Evan Bell from Water Farmers, and last but not least, Larry Pomerantz from Rain Barrel. Thanks, everyone. Good night, everyone, and see you in our upcoming event. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.